To the Revenue Committee public hearing. My name is Brad Von Gillern. I'm the Vice Chair of Revenue. I represent District 4 in West Omaha, and I will serve as the chair during the first testimony this afternoon. The committee will take up bills in the order that they're posted outside the hearing room. Our hearing today is your public part of the legislative process. This is your opportunity to express your position on the proposed legislation before us today. We do ask that you limit or eliminate handouts. If you're unable to attend a public hearing and would like your position stated for the record, you may submit your position and any comments using the legislature's website by 12 p.m. the day prior to the hearing. Letters emailed to a senator or staff member will not be a part of the permanent record. If you're unable to attend and testify at a public hearing due to a disability, you may use the Nebraska legislature's website to submit written testimony in lieu of in-person testimony. To better facilitate today's proceedings, I ask that you follow these procedures. Please turn off all cell phones and electronic devices. The order of testimony is the introducer, proponents, opponents, neutral, and the closing remarks. If you'll be testifying, please complete the green form and hand it into the committee clerk when you come up to testify. If you've written materials that you'd like to distribute to the committee, please hand them to the page to distribute. We need 11 copies for all committee members and staff. If you need additional copies, please ask the page to make copies for you now. When you begin to testify, please state and spell your name for the record. Please be concise. It's my request that you limit your testimony to 5 minutes, and we will use the light system. Green indicates 4 minutes, yellow is 1 minute remains, and red is please wrap up your comments. If there are many wishing to testify, we'll use a 3-minute testimony limit, but that won't apply for this afternoon. If your remarks were reflected in previous testimony, or if you would like your position to be known but do not wish to testify, please sign the white form at the back of the room, and it will be included in the official record. So please speak directly into the microphone so our transcribers are able to hear your testimony clearly. I'd like to introduce the committee staff. To my left is Lyle Wheeler. To Lyle's left, Lyle is our legal counsel. To Lyle's left is Charles Hamilton, our research analyst. And to the far left is our committee clerk, Thomas Weekly. Committee members with us today, I'd like to ask them to introduce themselves, beginning at my right.
Kathleen Kauth, LD 31.
Dave Merman from Glenville, District 38, represent 8 counties in southern Nebraska in the middle part of the state.
Good afternoon. Tom Breesy, I represent District 41.
George Dungan, District 26, Northeast Lincoln.
Thank you. Our 2 pages today are Amelia, who's a senior at UNL studying political science, and Caitlin, junior at UNL, also studying political science. Are we down 1 page? Oh, there you are, behind George. Couldn't see it. You'd stand, please. Hiding back there. Thank you. Please remember that senators may come and go during our hearing as they may have bills to introduce in other committees. Refrain from applause or other indication of support or opposition. For our audience, live microphones in the room are not for amplification, but for recording purposes only. Lastly, we use electronic devices to distribute information. Therefore, you may see committee members referencing information on their electronic devices. Be assured that your presence here today and your testimony are important to us and are a critical part of our state government. And with that, we'll open the hearing this afternoon with LB 74. And I'll ask Senator Linehan to open.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Von Gillern and members of the Revenue Committee. I am Lou Ann Linehan, Louannlinehan, and I am from Legislative District 39, which is Elkhorn and Waterloo in Douglas County. I'm here today to introduce LB 74. LB 74 addresses an unfair consequence of Nebraska's contractor laws. We are handing out, I need the pages, please. I'm handing out copies of the contractor options at a glance from the Nebraska Department of Revenue. This should give you a quick and easy way to understand how the sales and use tax applies to contractors and customers defined within LB 74. As the individuals qualified for the buy-based exemption. Simple, right? What ends up happening is this. If you're a manufacturer purchasing manufacturing machinery and equipment and have it installed by a contractor you bought it from, you will lose your exemption from the sales and use tax because of an option chosen by your contractor in certain cases. However, if you purchase and install the same items yourself, you will get the exemption for certain situations. Why does the option Why does the option chosen by the contractor dictate whether a qualified manufacturer purchasing manufacturing machinery or equipment retains the sales and use tax exemption that they should have otherwise been clearly entitled to? With respect to other exemptions and entities, namely nonprofits, Nebraska law already allows for what is known as purchasing agent authorization. See NRS 77-2704.12 PAA. Exempt organizations are allowed to pass their exempt status on to qualified purchase to a designee agent to preserve their exemption when they have a third party making qualified purchases on their behalf. LB 74 allows the statutory structure and force qualified manufacturers to make the same appointment to a third party contractors by inciting them as a purchasing agent and thereby preserving the exemptions. Nebraska law clearly intended to afford them. I have brought with me AM 169. Again, I need the pages to hand this out, thanks. AM 169, which does not create any substantive change to the effect or intent of LB 74. Rather, the amendment is a clarification to the statute to expressly define and identify what a buyer-based exemption is for purposes of LB 74 and the status is affected. I would ask the committee to approve this bill and advance it to the floor for consideration of your body. One other thing I need to say about this bill. The committee had this bill last year. We put it in a sales tax package. I can't remember. I think we were in final reading. So it passed general file, passed select file. In general reading, there was a meeting between the speaker, chairman of appropriations, chairman of revenue, myself, and we were, I don't know, it was in the out years and we were off, I think, $20 million, $25 million. So I was asked to find a cut in tax expenditures or tax cuts, so find 10 million on my side, and appropriations had to find 10 million on their side. And I was looking at a group of bills, and the only bill I could see that was $10 million that I thought was fair to cancel was, or take off the list, was my bill. So this bill already went through the whole process once, got approved, and then because of the out years and the way the green sheet works, which those of you knew will find out the green sheet's very, very important, I killed my own bill. So I would like you to pass it out of committee and get it passed soon. Because so I'll take questions, sorry.
Thank you, Senator Linehan. Any questions from the committee? I have one question. The amendment 169, that changed, the bill was submitted last year, but this is a slight change to what was submitted last year?
It's because our legal counsel found a technical fix he thought would be helpful.
Great, thank you. All right, and I presume you'll stay to close.
I will stay
Thank
close. I'll miss the party outside.
All right, thank you. Any proponents that would like to speak on behalf of LB 74?
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Senator Von Gillern and the committee. My name is Stacy Watson, STACYWATSON, and I am here representing the Nebraska Chamber. We are in support of LB 74. And as Senator Linehan had stated, so, in the past, everybody gets to choose their contract option, 1, 2, or 3. But if a buyer-based exemption was available to, say, a nonprofit or an exempt organization, they got to pass that through to the contractor. So when they bought the materials, the buyer who has the actual exemption wasn't charged tax as a pass-through cost from that contractor. When the manufacturing exemption was passed, that didn't seem to be addressed. And so I feel like we kind of missed treating all contractors fairly. So it shouldn't matter who comes and installs your material. Ultimately, it should matter how are you using the materials that are being installed for you. But the way the law is currently written, it matters who installs, not who's using. So that would, if you went back and said, okay, well, if we did that for all buyers-based exemptions, right? So if I'm the federal government and I have a buyer-based exemption, if a 2 or 3 installed it, the federal government would have to pay sales tax. That doesn't make sense. So if a manufacturer is truly using the equipment for manufacturing, why should they have to pay a pass-through cost from a contractor just based on the number that the contractor has picked over time? So I think that the purchasing agent appointment is a very easy fix to, you know, they're used to getting these forms. You're not messing with the contractors at all. They see these forms all the time. People are used to passing them out for their exemption. So I think that it would be an easy fix. And I don't think that there's any reason that a contractor should be treated differently for a buyer-based exemption just based on the contractor option that they've chosen. So if you have any questions, sales tax is my favorite thing to do. So, you know, don't hold back. This is what I live for. And it's currently income tax season, so I'm a little bummed out. So I volunteered to come today. So, you know, just let me know.
Thank you. Questions from the committee, Senator Kauth?
Thank you, Senator Von Gillern. What type of businesses are you talking about that would be the exempt, the use?
The user ones that for this particular bill. So generally, mostly manufacturing. So if any kind of widgets, furniture, you know, pork producers, beef producers, anybody like that currently that is manufacturing a widget, and we've defined under the code to be a manufacturer or processor, currently cannot use option two or three contractors without paying the additional sales tax through the pass-through cost.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Ms. Watson.
Have a great
Appreciate it.
afternoon.
Thank you. Any other proponents?
Mr. Chairman, members of the Revenue Committee, my name is Shauna Dahlgren, spelled SHANADAHLGREN. I am the Chief Financial Officer for Kauth Ethanol Holdings, LLC, and am appearing before you today in support of LB 74. First, I want to thank Senator Linehan for introducing LB 74 and for introducing the same proposal last year. LB 74 addresses a disparity in Nebraska's current tax structure that requires the same manufacturing machinery and equipment to be taxed differently depending on who is installing the equipment. The Nebraska Legislature has taken steps to exempt manufacturing and processing equipment from sales and use tax since 2006, and LB 74 would be a further step in this direction. Under the current sales and use tax regimen, a manufacturer who has the internal resources and technical expertise to purchase and install manufacturing equipment themselves wouldn't be subject to sales and use tax. They are eligible for the buyer-based tax exemption. However, another manufacturer who is adding the same new manufacturing equipment but doesn't have the internal resources and technical expertise to install the equipment themselves would be required to hire a contractor to complete the project. Depending on the contractor's option selection, 1, 2, or 3, their purchase for equipment and materials would likely be subject to tax and sales and use tax, therefore passing on to the manufacturer the increased cost for sales and use tax. Same equipment, just different tax treatment. Imagine the type of manufacturer is able to avoid sales and use tax. Their profile would likely be larger national or multinational manufacturers. Large manufacturers are more likely to be advantaged by Nebraska's current exemption for manufacturing and equipment. They typically have more resources to be able to come in and install their own equipment than smaller firms do. LB 74 takes a step forward in addressing this disparity and equalizing the playing field between manufacturers with different means to install the same equipment. LB 74 addresses a question of fairness in Nebraska's tax code. I urge the Revenue Committee to advance LB 74 to general file, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Dahlgren. Appreciate it.
Hi. Good afternoon, Vice Chair. I'm just going to say I feel really good being in the Revenue Committee, and I've never, ever said that before. So do we. My name is Dawn Caldwell, DAWNCALDWELL. I'm privileged to be the Executive Director of Renewable Fuels Nebraska, the trade organization for Nebraska's 2.2 billion gallons and nearly $5 billion per year ethanol industry. RFN's producer member companies support LB 74, which would simply provide fairness when applying Nebraska's sales and use tax exemptions for installed manufacturing machinery and equipment. You heard from Ms. Dahlgren that sales tax exemptions are discriminately applied when it comes to installing manufacturing machinery and equipment, depending on the category of the contractor. We encourage passage of this legislation to continue to bolster an inviting and progressive business climate in Nebraska, to not only promote expansion of current businesses, but also be welcoming to new industry. As plants consider opportunities for efficiency upgrades or for value-added products beyond the basic ethanol and distillers grains, this allows them to give projects stronger consideration based on how that investment would impact their bottom line. A sincere thank you to Senator Linehan for introducing LB 74 again this year, and I ask that you please choose to level the playing field and advance the bill to general file. Thank you, and I would answer questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Committee? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Dahlgren.
Thank you all.
Any other proponents? Any opponents? Any neutral testimony for LB 74? Okay, Senator Linehan, would you like to close? Senator Linehan waives closing. We will close the hearing on LB 74. Oh, but what? Do we have letters? Sorry. Do we have letters? I didn't ask. No. All right. I didn't throw up. It's okay. This is going way better than across the hall.
If it only it was across the hall. Inland.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And we will open the hearing on LB 146. Good afternoon, Senator Kauth.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Linehan and members of the committee. My name is Kathleen Kauth, Kathleen, Kauth. I represent District 31 in Southwest Omaha. I'm here today to introduce LB 146, which changes certain provisions for improvements on leased lands and the methods used to give notice. It's a cleanup bill. This changes the notification timing of improvements made before March 1st to on or before March 1st. It also allows, with the written permission of the taxpayer, for the tax commissioner to give any notice required by email or other electronic means. So we're coming into the 21st century. We're updating and bringing how the tax commissioner can contact people, ensuring that those who improve leased lands don't miss the deadlines to notify the county assessor that the improvements made are on the property of the lessee. Basically what was happening is people would make improvements that they were going to own, but they forgot to notify until March 1st, or they just didn't get it done. And it was before March 1st that they had to have it done. So this just changes the language to make it a little bit more flexible for people so they're not missing by one day the notification period. Thank you for your consideration of LB 146. I believe it's a consent calendar material. Would appreciate it if the members of the Revenue Committee would vote to advance it out of committee.
Thank you, Senator Kauth. Are there any questions from the committee? Senator Duggan.
Of course.
Thank you, Chair Linehan, and thank you, Senator Kauth. Genuinely curious about this. It sounds like the original intent of the requirements when it gets sent by mail to have it first class registered or certified is to ensure
That it gets
acknowledgement when it's received. Is there any kind of similar assurance with regard to email, or is it just that we're in the 21st century?
So it says with the written permission of the taxpayer. So basically the taxpayer would have to say to the tax commissioner, hey, I really prefer by email. Please do it this way. And then, so it's a choice. They can do it either or. If they don't request it, it continues to be done the way it was.
So they're acknowledging they'll
Yes.
receive it at some point, and they're cool with that?
Yeah.
All right, thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Duggan. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Are there proponents for the bill? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Linehan, distinguished members of the Revenue Committee. My name is John Cannon, Joncannon. I'm the Executive Director of NACO. And for the record, this is my favorite committee. So no matter what any previous testifiers may have said, this is the one and only for me. We certainly would like to thank Senator Kauth for bringing this bill forward. The NACO board voted to support this. Basically, it's a technical cleanup from our perspective in the county assessor's office. If you have something that says there's a deadline before a particular date, people are going to ask, does that mean that particular date it also exists? If you say on or before, it provides clarity. And I think anything that we can do to make the hidden gears of government move just a little bit more smoothly, I think it's a good thing. Harmonizes with other provisions we have in the law. That's all I have, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cannon. Other questions from the committee? Okay, I admit my ignorance. What is being sent by electronic mail?
So this is the notice provision required by the tax commissioner under the Revenue Act. And my testimony is only related to the improvement on leased lands portion. But it's anything, any written notice required by the tax commissioner with prior permission from the taxpayer, they can send it via electronic mail.
So would be your evaluation? Like they could email it to you instead of mailing it to you?
This is from the tax commissioner, and so
okay, tax commissioner, wrong
yes,
person.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's a dumb question. Okay, any other not dumb question? No, or dumb. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Are there other proponents? Are there any opponents? Is there anyone wanting to testify in a neutral position? Okay, Senator Kauth, would you like to close? Such efficiency. Senator Kauth waives closing, but we do have two letters, two proponents, one from the CPAs and Nebraska Farm Bureau. Everybody's on board. So with that, we close LB 146 and open on LB 147.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Linehan and members of the Revenue Committee. My name is Kathleen Kauth, spelled Kathleen, Kauth. I represent District 31 in Southwest Omaha. I'm here today to introduce LB 147. LB 147 makes minor modifications to how the county treasurer notifies a political subdivision of a refund. Currently, if a refund is less than $200, the county board may waive the notice requirement to the political subdivision. Under LB 147, a political subdivision whose refund is $1,000 or less could waive the notice requirement by notifying the county treasurer in writing. Notifications of refunds can now also be made by electronic means if the political subdivision makes a request in writing. Very similar to 146, we're just dealing with different entities. Basically, the political subdivisions don't want to deal with all of the paperwork that goes into something less than $1,000. So they've asked that that limit be raised to the $1,000. That is all.
All right. Are there any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Proponents.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Candace Meredith, CANDACE MEREDITH, and I am the Deputy Director of the Nebraska Association of County Officials, otherwise known as NACO, and I am here today as a proponent of LB 147. Thank you, Senator Kauth, for introducing this bill. As the Senator mentioned, after the Board of Equalization makes that determination of requiring a tax refund, the county treasurer is required to notify a political subdivision by mail when a tax refund will be issued when their share of the refund is over $200. As she mentioned, this has become quite an administrative lift. So the recommended notification change would align with the updated 2022 legislation to 173606 that eliminated political subdivisions to declare hardship on taxpayer refunds. In addition, the recommended change would reduce county administrative time as well as costs for supplies and postage if this notification to the political subdivision was increased to $1,000 or less with the electronic notification option. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the committee? Senator Von Gillern.
Does this then show up, and maybe this is the wrong example, like unclaimed property that the state treasurer is trying to run somebody down to collect?
No, that's from the state area. This is for when, so when the Board of Equalization has determined that a property tax was overassessed and the taxpayer had overpaid, then the Board of Equalization will have the treasurer issue a refund, a tax refund, And so obviously with the tax refund, there's all sorts of political subdivisions on there that would be impacted by that refund. So it's been stated that in years past here that anything over $200, a county treasurer must notify that political subdivision.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Von Gillern. Are there other questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wait, do we have any letters? No. Okay, anybody neutral? Oh, I should get an opposition. Okay. All right, and Senator Kauth waives closing, so that brings us to a close in LB 147.
Perfect time.
Yeah.
Didn't we
He wants
say
to do it
we?
again.
You know what? She looked over there for a question for George and then, shouldn't we?
I let you down. I understand.
I expect double this.
That's right.
So, wow, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.